Hello and welcome to your cell biology lesson. To start with, we're going to have a quick recap of the organelles found in a cell. Most of these you will remember from years 7 and 8. However, I have added in some bacterial organelles for us to look at. These are the flagella, a tail-like structure to aid movement. Flagella are also found in sperm cells, again to aid movement, and we'll cover that in a later slide. Slime capsules, which offers protection from certain chemicals such as antibiotics, and desiccation, which is drying out. It also helps them to adhere or stick to surfaces. We have the pili, which helps the bacteria attach to surfaces, and some pili actually share DNA between different bacteria. And then there are plasmids, which are circular loops of DNA found in bacteria cells. So we're going to have a look at the types of cells that exist. Now, a cell is the basic unit of a living organism, and there are two types. There are prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotes are bacteria. They're pretty small cells, they're pretty tiny. They're between 0.2 micrometers to 2 micrometers. Now, a micrometer is a millionth of a meter. They are simpler cells. They have less organelles than eukaryotic cells do. So they have a cell membrane surrounded by a cell wall. They do have cytoplasm and ribosomes, but no mitochondria or chloroplasts. The DNA is not enclosed in a nucleus. It is free in the cytoplasm or occurs in rings called plasmids. And its method of division is something called binary fission. Now, it's useful to remember the meaning of prokaryote. Pro means before and karyote means nucleus. So these cells evolved before the nucleus did in eukaryotic cells. So they're a bit simpler. They have fewer organelles present. Now, eukaryotic cells are either animal cells, plant cells, or fungi cells. They're a lot larger than prokaryotic cells, anything from 5 micrometers to 100 micrometers. They have a cell membrane. And in fungi and plant cells, that is also surrounded by a cell wall. They contain cytoplasm, cell organelles, mitochondria, ribosomes, and chloroplasts occur in plant cells. Their DNA is enclosed in a membrane of its own, found in a nucleus, and it divides by a process called mitosis. So here is a quick recap of what animal and plant cells look like. A basic animal cell is usually rounder than a plant cell, which is more rectangular in shape. They both have nuclei, they both have cell membranes, they both have cytoplasm, they both have mitochondria and ribosomes. Now, ribosomes are usually portrayed in diagrams as tiny dots, and mitochondria are portrayed as these rounded rectangles. In the plant cells, you also have chloroplasts, which are slightly oval in structure. You have the vacuole, which is the large shape in the center, and then you have the cell wall, which surrounds the cell membrane. So here is a diagram of a bacterial cell. So here are some of the organelles we talked about earlier. We have the flagella, which is the tail-like structure to help the bacteria move. We have cytoplasm, like any other type of cell, which is where chemical reactions happen. We have the cell membrane, which controls the entry and exit of materials in and out of the bacteria. The DNA is loose within the cytoplasm. We have a cell wall. The capsule is that protective layer. And then we have the pili, which helps the bacteria adhere to surfaces or exchange DNA with other bacteria. So now we're going to look at specialized cells. In a multicellular organism, that is an organism made up of more than one type of cell, we need to have specialized cells to carry out different functions. So our sperm cell is our first specialized cell. Its purpose or function is to fertilize an egg. It has several features that enable it to do that. So we have a tail, or a correct term is the flagella for movement. In the mid-piece of the sperm cell, there are lots of mitochondria. Now, remember, mitochondria is where respiration occurs. That releases energy from glucose. So the energy is used to help the sperm swim. There is something called an acrosome at the head of the sperm that is used to penetrate the egg. and it contains a haploid nucleus. Now, haploid means it contains half the number of chromosomes of a normal cell, which is described as diploid. Now, the reason for that is that haploid nucleus fuses with the haploid nucleus found in the egg to form a full set of chromosomes in the fertilized egg. Now, the nerve cell, which is our second specialized cell, its function is to transmit electrical signals. Okay. To this end, it has got a very particular shape. Nerve cells are very long. That is so the electrical signal can pass down the cell uninterrupted. If nerve cells were small and there were lots of them going around your body, it would take the signal longer to travel because it would have to keep jumping from cell to cell. So the longer the cell, the faster it can travel. It is protected by a myelin sheath or a fatty sheath. That is the orange on the diagram, which isn't labelled here. Now, that acts like insulation. So the plastic coating on a wire keeps the electrical signal contained within it and stops it being lost to the surroundings. You have dendrites here. These form links with adjacent cells, so messages or signals can be passed on. The axon, which is the long bit all the way down the cell, this is always long, so that, again, like I said, so the signal can travel faster. Okay. So our next specialized cell is the muscle cell. Now, there are three types of muscle in the body. You have your heart muscle, you have your smooth muscle, and you have your skeletal muscle. All muscle cells are designed for movement. So they have lots of mitochondria, which is where respiration happens, so it releases lots of energy for movement to happen, and it's arranged in fibers, so they contract and relax to aid movement. Okay, now we're going to have a look at specialized cells found in plants. These are the root hair cell, the xylem cell, and the phloem cell. So starting off with the root hair cell, these are cells found in the roots of plants, and its function is to absorb water and minerals from the soil. Water is absorbed through osmosis, and minerals are absorbed through active transport. Now, the way the root hair cell is shaped aids transport because it has a large surface area. Okay, so the larger the surface area, the more things that can be absorbed, or the faster rate it can be absorbed at. The second way it is adapted to its function is that it has a lot of mitochondria. Now remember, mitochondria is where respiration happens, where energy is released from glucose. The root hair cell needs this energy for active transport. Our second cell is the xylem cell, which makes up the vascular system of the plants, or its transport system. It transports water from the roots to the leaves in a process called transpiration. So water is absorbed into the roots, it travels up the xylem, and then it evaporates out of stomata in the leaves. Okay. Our third and final specialized cell in plants is the phloem cell. Again, this is another part of the vascular system, or the transport system, but instead of transporting water, it transports sugars around the plant. Now, the sugars are made in the leaf during photosynthesis. They can be sent anywhere in the plant, so a lot of plants store sugars in the roots. Think of things like root vegetables, carrots, beetroot, etc. They taste slightly sweet. That's because they're stored full of sugar. Then when the plant starts growing again in spring and it needs sugars and glucose for the new growth of leaves, the sugar rises up the phloem and goes to where it is needed. Think of maple trees, and we say the sap is rising in spring. That is all the stored sugar moving up to help new leaves grow. Now, the phloem has companion cells running along it, and now those companion cells have lots of mitochondria, and again, this provides the energy for transportation. Okay, so that's it for our recap of cell organelles. Now, I recommend you go back, you jot down some key points, key notes, and then if you follow the link, it will take you to a 20-question online quiz on cell organelles. Good luck, take care, and hopefully we'll see you all soon.